Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew, and today we're doing another figure comparison. Today we're doing a figure comparison between two Godzillas, NECA Godzillas, between the original and the bootleg. Readjusting my camera so we can get more of the figures in here. Basically, in this corner we have the NECA Godzilla 2019 V2 figure. This is not a bootleg, this is the real authentic figure. And on this corner we've got the bootleg Godzilla 2024, Godzilla Evolved, based on Godzilla Kong the New Empire. Yes, the X is silent. However, I need to just kind of give away that this is not. Well, I've already touched upon the topic of comparing the two in my NECA Godzilla Evolved 2024 bootleg review, where I briefly showcased the brief comparison between the two, and I felt like it warranted its own video because, well, I can go way more in depth and show you just how different that these guys are. And it is also worth noting at the fact that, as far as like you buying a bootleg from say AliExpress or eBay, these things come in a very like an assortment of different sizes and, well, not sizes, well, mainly like color schemes, because it's not just all pink. I've seen some with like streaks on AliExpress. I've seen some that completely ditch the articulation and just give you like a NECA Godzilla that just looks like a Bandai vinyl. So basically, we're going to be comparing these two in the main categories, sculpt and paint, articulation, size, accessories, price, availability, and packaging. So let's go ahead and start off. Taking a look at the heads on both figures, it's actually kind of different. And I mean kind of in the sense of like the coloring is different, but the molds are the exact same because he bought off his. But let's take a look at it anyway. The NECA original has a much more lighter color scheme as far as like the skin color goes, minusing all the blues, because I thought his was dark. This is like charcoal black. This is like charcoal gray, honestly. Because now seeing it's really apparent that this one has a lot darker of a color scheme, but the colors themselves also, there's just a lot to talk about as far as the face themselves goes. The original one has a kind of like a silverish blue type of metallic color for the eye, and then has a bit of light blue mascara, and then kind of goes off to like dark blue, like dry brushing mixes in with like a light blue spray, then goes down to the aqua teal kind of colored dorsal plates. It also has a bit of blue across the dorsal fins. The gills. The gills, in my opinion, are kind of the weakest part about the paint because they're just kind of slapped on like streaks. They're not actually painted like this. If they were painted like this and they were properly applied, that would just look absolutely no complaints there. Also, the teeth are individually sculpted and painted, which I do like. And something that's also fun to note is that the inside of the mouth also features like a wide different color types of blues. So you kind of have aqua on the tops and bottoms, and the tongue is fully blue. So that's honestly really cool color scheme going on. The bootleg, on the other hand, doesn't have as much pink as this one has blue, but still has that signature like three-way streak going across the forehead and the sides of the head that start off with the eyes. And speaking of the eyes, there are no pupils on this one, but unless the that white dot is the pupil, but that could also just be the colored eye, because let's be honest, the Monster vs. Godzilla isn't known for having the biggest eyes proportionally to his body, unlike something like, say, the Showa-era films. But that being said, it's also really wonkily applied, being much more front to the face, and then this one is a lot more front to the face, and it honestly kind of looks really doofy when you look at this thing from front. Oh man, that looks goofy. Also, there's no variety with the pink. They're all the same pink. Even inside the gums, like the tongue, for example, on the roof of the mouth and at the bottom of the mouth, you can really just see that they really only used one tone of pink, which, I mean, that's not bad per se, but when we get into the body in a bit, you'll see that there's a bit more of a variety, and I mean mildly, like, more of a variety. And again, I will say the gills look better on this one, but you do get a bit of, like, kind of a spray when it gets into the pink fins, and a bit of silver dry brushing on the neck, which I do appreciate. Next, let's talk about the torsos and arms on both figures, which both of them go for a much more metallic look, but one of them is like a lot more colorful than the other one, if that makes more sense. The original NECA retains that kind of blue mix with the lighter blue aqua and the darker blue indigo, and just goes completely ham on it. In fact, they've kind of like got a bit of mix here, because you kind of have a bit more of the lighter blue coming from down here, and then where it stops, and then you got some of the more darker blues where it kind of meets it on the hand. And even though you still got a bit of the lighter blue kind of mixed in there, primarily that's going to be where the atomic breath is shooting, because that's also where his chest is. And in that sense, it kind of creates like this 2001 Godzilla NECA atomic blast kind of effect, where the atomic breath shines onto Godzilla's chest as he's blasting away, which I also do appreciate. It's also worth noting that the claws are not painted, I don't think. Actually, no, they do have a bit of gloss on them. However, that could just be because of the plastic. The here we have the bootleg, and the bootleg, for some reason I forgot the word bootleg, features metallic dry brushing in the same way that the NECA does. However, it's all mainline silver. There's really no like variety as far as like pink. Maybe some pink dry brushing would have been nice, although you do have a pink of some bit of pink on his crotch. I will say that it actually looks, especially for a bootleg, the metallic used is not bad. I really like it. It's very consistent and it's very sporadic and brings out a lot of the details very nicely. And again, it's all consistent throughout the rest of the hand and doesn't do like a gradient effect like the NECA does, which I not that that's bad, but I just think that if they went with pink dry brushing in addition to the metallic dry brushing, that would have looked so much better. When we go to the legs, I'll be 100% honest and say there's actually a bit of competition. Wait for it. And I just realized we gotta like lower my brightness a bit down. There we go. So as you can see, the NECA has a bit more color variety again, and that's kind of a theme we're going to be seeing. The NECA original will always have a bit more color variety, but this one will always have a bit more dry brushing as far as like the body is concerned. And it's especially showcased very well here in the legs, because it carries on from the back to kind of like the top of the thigh and then bleeds its way down to the knee, where you got like these very colorful looking, because there's like two lines of color that are light blue and silver and go really well together and kind of emphasize each other. And you also have a bit of like light blue in the cracks and crevices of the knees. However, the rest of the body here is is kind of more plain looking. It still retains the fine detail, but doesn't feature like any of the painting or dry brushing, although these nails are very glossy and very sharp, versus these ones, which are a lot more, well, the dry brushing carries even throughout the feet, which I think NECA really should have done on theirs. But then again, this figure was made 5 years after the matter, so. But I will say the dry brushing again looks really well done, and this is probably the best where it looks done. It's probably where it moves best. Next, we're going to take a look at the tails, which, as you can probably tell, it's a bit, well, okay, let's just say, this one features a lot of the same kind of blues you find on the body, and does it in a really cool way. Actually, let's turn up the brightness a little bit. There you go. The NECA original has a lot more of the lighter colors going on the top of the dorsal plates, while the indigos are held towards the sides, giving a much better glowing effect, and the bottom features pretty much a mild dry brushing of like black, kind of gray type color, and it looks very organic, if that makes any form of sense. While the bootleg is kind of more caked on and looks more like a strawberry shortcake versus this. And I will say the mix of like white and pink together does look good, but it looks more like a pastry than an actual action figure tail, the way I want it. Also, they didn't properly paint it all the way, which I kind of also have to dock off points for, because the rest of the figure was painted so well, because you got like gaps in the paint there, and spoilers for the articulation, but you've seen this thing like a million times, but they didn't paint in the gaps. And I mean, while NECA didn't really do the same thing there, theirs actually painted in a little bit better as opposed to this. So, I mean, hey, faults on both ends, but really only one of them could really win. And for the last bit, we're going to take a look at the spines and the sides of the body. Um, it's inevitably clear who did it better, but NECA's original did it so good. They got kind of like the same thing because again, the base of the fins are a lot more shinier as far as like the color scheme goes, and then transitions to like an aqua dry brushing kind of color, and it kind of tapers off into this darker paint apps with more metallic coloring on those indigo paint apps. And even here where it's like a mishmash mix of everything, and it just looks so packed in, and it looks like he's just ready to fire his atomic breath and who knows what to maybe Ghidorah or Scar King or Destroya if he ever enters the Monsterverse. Versus the bootleg, while it does feature some merit as far as like the detail goes, very accurate to the film. And the pink is actually applied really well to the figure because I so far haven't had any paint chippage with the big fins yet. It doesn't come across as well with the white because again, it just looks more like a pastry rather than an actual like, you know, effect, a glowing effect, which I think should have been the case. Although the gradient here is nice, it kind of gets cut off with the thigh and it gets cut off by the arm. So really, there should have been a little bit more consistency, but I like how it kind of builds up to the neck. So at the very least. So to summarize the sculpting paint, I think it's inevitably clear who did it better. The original NECA absolutely slam dunks the bootleg, but like really, it shouldn't have come across as a surprise. I will say again, the dry brushing on the legs, on the arms, and the front of the body look absolutely phenomenal. And even down here, where it looks absolutely great, like look at that. It just, something about it just looks better on the original NECA than this one did, and especially like with all the mixes of colors, not just pink, because in my opinion they should have gone with also reds and purples. You know, go all out. If you're making an unlicensed figure, go all out with it. This, I feel like they were holding back. That, or I guess just because I didn't buy the other version, but then again I would have lost this. So, but with that being said, that wraps up Skull